and welcome to episode 19 of Popcorn Prosecco, a show of 30 minutes of movie talk. And today the topic is best and worst movies of 2014 so far. I am Perri Nemiroff. This is Angie Hahn, who's in the same room as me this time. And say hello to Kristy, too.
Hi, guys.
You're like, oh, and then there's Kristy also,
Yeah,
I mean.
Kristy Puchko, representing out of Queens.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a mix-up going on here. But
There's some crossed wires tonight.
Earbuds tonight. Okay, so we're going to start off by talking about the worst movies of 2014 so far, and Kristy's going to kick it off.
So this won't be a big surprise to those of you who saw the podcast about this episode. My pick is Maleficent. I know it's doing really well in theaters. Woohoo for Disney. Woohoo for female-fronted films. I wish it were better. This movie infuriates me. It's basically supposed to be like the origin story of Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty, which in theory I would be on board with because I loved Maleficent so much when I was a kid because, yeah, she was evil, but she was interesting and she could turn into a dragon. But in the new movie, they took all of that cool power and drove it into a weird revenge plot that is so single-minded yet nonsensical that it just infuriated me. And then, in perhaps the most grievous move, and since this movie's been out for a couple weeks, I'm just going to say it, she doesn't turn into a dragon. What the hell? So, I have an axe to grind with this movie, and that's with all the points aside about whether or not it's about rape, which in some degree it is. I mean, it just is. Even Angelina Jolie has said that, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But my problem with Maleficent is I don't think the movie makes any sense. I think it's pretty at points, but the characters are completely poorly written. And, you know, it's doing well, which doesn't encourage me that Disney's going to try harder with their future revamps.
It kind of feels like they made a trailer and not a movie, because there are, like, good, like, trailer moments, like, you know, where she, like, laughs and, like, you know, it looks good. But then, like, you watch the movie and you're just like, oh, you didn't think any of the rest of the story, did you?
Which is essentially just one big play to make money.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what this is. It's like, it's because the best teaser trailer for this movie was that first one where it's like, I am not afraid, and she's like, well, you should be. Or, so, you know, when she's, like, lurking in the woods, and then it was
like
the big reveal of Angelina Jolie as Maleficent, which was kind of cool.
She looks good as Maleficent.
If you sort through the official stills for this movie, they're awesome. Every single frame of that movie is kind of gorgeous. It's just, you know, pretty camera work is only going to get you so far when your movie is a stupid story.
It's a movie that seems like it was designed for a marketing campaign rather than, like, for a movie.
Well, and as we talked about in our podcast, I'm not going to retread this heavily, but it's directed by Robert Stromberg, who is a production designer. And, like, why I find that so infuriating is that really great production designers can tell you a story in just the production design. And this movie fails to tell us, like, a full story in the production design, because there's locations and worlds that are just there. They're not really adding to the story, and like,
it's funny that you bring that up because this world has the worst geography ever. Because it's like when you see her go into the woods, it's like, why is she going into the bad woods? But like, they never established the good woods with the cabin where she'd be safe. So it was like, what's going on? Where are they going?
Yeah, and it just looks like kind of like generic fantasy land. Like this could be from any other of the fairy tale retellings that we've had recently. It doesn't like you said, like you should be able to like tell a story, like add texture, like if he's a good production designer. It looks kind of impressive at first glance, but you're just like, it's not interesting or original or, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout out to Meredith over at IO9 because she wrote an article specifically about how this movie fails Maleficent. And reading it, it was just like, I mean, you guys can relate to this. You read something, you're like, I wish I had written that because yes to everything. So we'll include that in links because Meredith did a hell of a job explaining the issues I have with this movie better than I managed to in my review even, I'll admit. Because it just, this movie just, it won't leave my mind how infuriating this movie is.
Yeah, I was just really bummed. And I was also really annoyed because for some reason my 3D glasses were incredibly wide and every time I moved my head, they would fall off. So I think that didn't help the movie at all. Really annoying.
In a children's movie.
Wait until that happens to you and you'll get it.
It happened to me too, but in fairness, we cannot blame Robert Stromberg for that.
That's the one thing we can't blame him for.
Well, let's move on. Angie, what's your pick for the worst movie of 2014 so far?
My least favorite movie that I have seen so far this year is Transcendence, which is, like a lot of the things you said about Maleficent, it doesn't make sense. It's dumb. It's it was really annoying, but the worst part about it for me was it was so fucking boring. Oh my god. I don't remember exactly how long it was. I think it was like 2 hours, but whatever it was, it felt like it was like 4 times that long. And just, it was kind of like Maleficent in that it was also that, like, I was just like, you didn't think any of this through. Like, it raises these interesting questions. I mean, I wanted to like this movie. At first, I was like, oh, okay, let's see where we're going with this. And no, they raise a few interesting questions. None of them go anywhere interesting. The characters have no motivations that make any sense. Johnny Depp doesn't know how to act like a human anymore.
It's so disappointing because I was so pumped for this movie because I kept putting it. I never saw this movie because it came out while I was on Child Eater, but I kept putting the trailers in Best Stuff. I was so excited to see all of these people with the scenario, and I love I really do like the idea of him being, sucked into a computer and manipulating it. But based on everything I've heard from you guys and a lot of other people, it's just moronic, and that's
what I liked about it was we had seen it, I think, like 2 days before we did the set visit to your movie, or maybe slightly more than a week. But like we spent it's like a 2-hour ride to where your set was, and we spent most of it talking about how bad Transcendence was. And Perri was like, I kind of wish I had seen it. And Angie and I made the point that it's not like Winter's Tale, which, as watchers of this podcast know, we think is terrible, but at least it's trying. Like, Transcendence feels so tone deaf. Like, it just feels like everyone was like, all right, check, please.
They try a little. I have seen movies that try less, but I don't know. Like I said, so I have seen other movies this year that I didn't like, but this was like the most bored I've been during a movie, and it was really upsetting because it has like great actors. It actually has like a pretty interesting premise. They just don't know what to do with it. And
does it look pretty?
Interesting with it? No, it doesn't look pretty.
Really?
That's the other thing. He's the
Wally Pfister.
Yeah, it was Wally Pfister. He's the one that makes Christopher Nolan's movies look pretty.
That sucks.
But he failed to make his own movie look pretty. I mean, he wasn't his own DP, but still, like, you would think
he would have an eye for visuals.
Right.
The movie science of the movie made virtually, like, it just kept being like, this is how computers work. And you're like, I mean, I call tech whenever I can't get online, and I know that's not how computers work. And I actually brought a tech guy with me, and he was livid, like, furious. Like, he was the most entertaining thing at Transcendence, was just listening to him be like, Ethernet cables don't go there, and like...
that is something anybody would know.
The only thing that this movie understands less than tech is people. It doesn't understand humans at all. Like, like Johnny Depp, again, lead character, doesn't know how to act like a person anymore. Apparently he can only act these days when he's covered in like 5 pounds of white makeup. But like on top of that, like Rebecca Hall, Paul Bettany, like everyone else, I was just like, which is a huge doing makes any emotional sense. Like,
exactly, and like that's the whole point of the movie, is like, what makes us human? Is it our thoughts or our emotions? And it's like they don't really have either in this movie that make any sense.
No.
I'm gonna have to see this just because I need to fill up my worst of the year list.
You really don't. See, that's the thing. Like, a lot of movies I saw this year that I didn't like, I can still recommend like 1 or 2 things I liked about it. Like, one movie I really disliked was That Awkward Moment. I thought Miles Teller was really good in it. Had that just been his plotline, like, I might have liked it more. But like Transcendence, I'm just like, or like Winter's Tale, you pointed out, like, it's people are trying really hard, and there's parts of it that are so crazy that it's like kind of entertaining. But like Transcendence, I'm just like, I'm racking my brain for a reason anyone should ever watch this, and I just can't come up with anything. It's not the single worst movie I've ever seen in my life, but I'm just like, there's just no, I mean, look, we have a finite amount of time on Earth, and there's just no reason to waste 2 hours of your life on this. You will be on your deathbed being like, could have done without that part.
Wow.
That's so they did not contact you for that as a pull quote. We only have a finite time on Earth.
To be fair, if Transcendence comes true and we're all able to upload our brains into, the internet or the cloud or whatever, then we don't have a finite amount of time, and then you can watch Transcendence. Basically, here's the pull quote. Watch Transcendence once we have all transcended and we have infinite time and nothing to do with it.
Wow. That's like a great Rotten Tomatoes blurb right there, too.
Agreed. Perri, let's move on to yours. I think we have just incinerated Transcendence.
And it's because she makes a very good point, because that's how I feel about one of my worst of the year, Night Moves, which, like you described with Transcendence, is just the most boring time suck I have experienced this year. I could not believe what that movie was. You know, you go to the movies because you want to sit down and you want to have someone tell you a story. You're not there to make your own freaking story and to pull out what the characters feel yourself. That's what a director is supposed to do. And the director is supposed to do that with their script and pull it out of their actors, and you just get nothing in this movie. It's
I
like...
thought you were going to say, and pull it out of their ass?
Well, yeah, sure, maybe that. But this movie, for me, just went absolutely nowhere. I like the entire cast, and I'm not going to blame it on them because I know this is Kelly Reichardt and this is what she does, but they kind of gave me nothing. You know, Jesse Eisenberg is just, to me, so freaking flat in this. And even Dakota Fanning, she's got, like, no life to her. I couldn't get behind their mission because it's never explained why they... Well, it is explained why they want to blow up the dam, but it's never explained, why they got into this whole fight, to save the environment and all that nonsense to begin with. And I just don't, I don't really get the point of any of it. And when you get to the end, after you've sit through 2 hours of kind of, one-note blahness, they give you this ending that's just like that's it? All of that for this? Ah, fuck you, movie.
I respectfully
Sorry, Kristy,
disagree.
I feel like I just flipped you off now.
I just think it's funny. I haven't seen the movie, and I mean, honestly, part of that was you were so negative about it that I was like, are we reviewing this? Do I need to see this? And I ended up just not getting around to it. But what's funny to me is that, like, with each of our picks, a lot of time has passed since we've seen them, like, at least weeks, in some case months, and, like, we're still this irritated.
Yeah.
Because
I just remember,
we have a finite amount of time
that
on
is,
this earth. That's
but that's really true, because that was a night that, like, I could have been doing something else, and I just remember looking at my watch halfway through, and it was like, I felt like I'd been sitting there for hours, and it was only something like 45 minutes, and I'm just like, holy shit. Like, this is my night. That just sucks.
Yeah, I feel like especially because, like, a lot of us, our jobs, we will work and write and research all day, and then at night we go to the movies, which is awesome. I love going to the movies, but when you go to the movies and it's a movie that is bad, you just feel like, this is what I'm doing. Like,
this feels like painfully bad, though. I don't mind a bad movie, but when I'm, like, watching the ticking hands of my clock on my watch go round and round, I'm just like, yeah, this is just, I can't handle it. Nothing gets me faster than a boring movie. Like, there's other reasons movies are bad, obviously, but the quickest way to lose me is a very slow pace, and this has it from beginning to end, and it just, like, ate away at me to no end.
I think there's a difference between, like, a movie that's slow and a movie that's boring. I wasn't as bored by Night Moves as you were, but again,
I'll admit, I'm a
It's actually interesting, because, like, it's an interesting point, because I think my favorite movie so far of the year is kind of slow-paced. But before we move on to that, if that's cool, unless you have anything else you want to say about Night Moves.
Don't see it.
Okay.
You can see it. See what?
Don't stop that. I'm going to pull your earbud
There's
out.
a finite amount of time in this earth. But so I just want to make a point, because if you watch our show, you might notice that we do reference Winter's Tale a lot. But we have big plans for Winter's Tale, guys, so we'll get back to Winter's Tale. But so anyway, my favorite movie,
like the patron saint of popcorn and I don't even know. It's weird. Anyway, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, that's amazing, and I have to figure out how to Photoshop that as our idol. I like that. I'll pop it right here once I figure it out. Anyway, so my favorite movie. So there we are. Ah, that's creepy. Okay, so
on your hand.
My favorite movie of the year so far is sort of a cheat, because it was my favorite movie of last year too, because I wanted to talk about it right away. It's Only Lovers Left Alive. I mean, it's just a movie that feels like it was made specifically for me, but like the other people like it, so clearly it's made for other people too. But it's, Jim Jarmusch, and he brought in Tom Hiddleston and Tilda Swinton, and they make vampire love, and they lounge about and look fabulous, and they drink blood, and it's like drugs, and it's just like the ultimate hangout movie. Like, vampires are cool, but in a way we actually haven't seen before, and it is a slow movie. But, like, it's slow where, like, everything just feels like a cool stroll. Like, everything just...
Did you see the movie Byzantium?
Yes, and I couldn't stand Byzantium.
How does this compare to that, out of curiosity?
Not at all. Well, Byzantium's like trying to be like cool in that they don't care about anything, but that's not these vampires. They care about things. Like Byzantium, it was like, I don't know, they didn't even feel like it didn't feel like a vampire movie, which was a bummer because it was from the guy who did Interview with the Vampire, which you may be able to see behind me. You should. It's somewhere. But like,
Sort of find it wins.
yeah. Huh? Jesus. But like, Only Lovers Left Alive, it's like it's a million times before where they are incredibly cool, but basically the main conflict is that Adam, played by Tom Hiddleston, is kind of tired of life. He's just kind of been through it all and he's just like over it. And so Eva, played by Eve, right? Yeah.
I think you got her mixed up with Eva from WALL-E.
Well, because like, what's her sister's name?
Eva?
Oh.
Anyway.
No, I don't remember. Anyway, go on.
But so the two of them, like she wants to show him that, you know, there's still things to care about and things to love. And we were talking beforehand about how Tilda Swinton is in a lot of really fantastic movies this year, which, not to get too much off the point, but she's in Grand Budapest Hotel this year, Only Lovers Left Alive, and Snowpiercer, which we'll have a review for you coming up, but spoiler.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love Only Lovers Left Alive. Like I just want to watch it over and over, and the music is so cool and captivating, and like Jim Jarmusch is really fantastic at creating moods and in giving you a genre you think you know and giving you something different in it. And like this movie is just, it's a swoon, man. It's a full body just.
It makes me sad that I've had so many opportunities to see it, but I
see
don't.
it.
Like, I
You
can't even
should
use
see it.
Child Eater as an excuse because did it play, what was it, New York Film Festival? And then it also played at South by and I missed it.
And it's been playing in theater. It was in theaters for a long time.
Yeah.
And it was one of my favorite movies of the year too. And I mean, so earlier we were talking about how one of our problems with Maleficent was that the production design doesn't tell you anything, and it feels very generic, even though it's pretty. This is like the exact opposite. Like you see it, you like take one look at like, you know, the apartment that the character lives in, and you just know so much about them. You know, it feels so lived in. I think what I loved about this movie was that it just felt like a movie you could wrap around you like a blanket. Like you feel like you are just like in there hanging out with them. It's like the ultimate hangout movie. It's so warm and
it's funny. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like it should be funny, and it's just that like Jim Jarmusch understands how people interact. So like when the sisters argue or when the couple argues, like there's a familiarity there. Like even though they're immortal, we totally get it. Like one easy visual joke is when all these vampires are sitting around, they all have sunglasses on because that's just what they do. And the one of them that's not a vampire, by Anton Yelchin, like he like pulls out sunglasses and puts them on. And you're just like, oh, you want to be a cool kid too. And he doesn't know they're vampires. He just thinks they're the coolest people around.
Oh, it's funny because I've heard you both say really great things about it, but something about that description makes me really want to see it even more. Of just like that one moment. I don't know what's getting to me about it. But
Well, it's a
I
movie
do wanna
where
see it.
like no scene, no dialogue, no tiny prop is wasted. Like everything tells a story, and that's what makes it feel so much like, you know, you're living in it. You know, it's like it feels like, you know, like I was saying, the production design. It feels like when you go to someone's apartment and you look around and it tells you a lot about what kind of person they are.
I'm looking around my room right now. Yeah. Yeah.
But it feels like that. Like it's not like one of those movies where it's just like, oh, like, you know, generic upper middle class white New Yorker. Like it's not like that. Like it feels like, oh, it feels like the characters themselves came alive and like filled up this room over years or centuries.
Yeah, it just feels really rich and fantastic, and
Also,
I love it.
It's really fun. I mean, it is slow, but it's entertaining, it's witty, it's funny.
Yeah, but it's like slow in a way where it like lures you in, as opposed to slow where you're like, so.
It feels like you're hanging out with like the coolest friends you have. Like think of your coolest friends that you have, the coolest couple you know, and you're just like hanging out with them. You're just chilling. You're drinking wine or blood, but you know.
Oh, okay. So this is how you feel when you hang out with my husband?
Of course, obviously. I mean, I feel like playing D&D with your husband is exactly like listening to old records with Tom Hiddleston.
You tell
That's the
that.
highest of compliments. I'll be sure to play this for him later. He'll be really thrilled. So.
I don't think we can top that for this movie.
Yeah, I think we should move on. Angie, what's your favorite movie so far this year?
My favorite movie of the year so far, well, there's a few, but the one that I have chosen to talk about today is Under the Skin, which to me was it's one of those movies that feels so incredibly cinematic, like kind of in the way that like last year when Gravity was like the big cinematic movie where you're just like, wow, like no other medium can do it just like this. Like to me, Under the Skin was a movie that like I was like, I can't imagine like trying to have this experience any other way. Like it, I'm like all stumbling over my words now, I'm getting all gushy. But it's really unusual. It's really unique. It feels really different, even though it's if you hear the premise, you're just like, oh, okay, it's a sci-fi movie about a woman and she's an alien and whatever. But it tells the story in like a completely different way, and it makes you feel like you are her. Like it makes you feel like you are seeing the movie from the perspective of the alien, and that makes it feel like you're just experiencing the whole world in a different way.
Well, that's my big question with this, because in this case, I kind of shat all over this movie's trailers, like all over the place. I hated them, and it made me want to see the movie like not even that much.
I think that if you don't watch the whole thing, it can look really kind of pretentious and obtuse and artsy in like a way where you're just like, oh, you're just like trying to be artsy for artsy's sake, and I can see that. But I didn't have strong feelings going in either way. Like I wasn't like, I'm gonna love this or I'm gonna hate this, but when I saw it, I was blown away by like how much I really did feel like for 2 hours I was under Scarlett Johansson's skin. Scarlett Johansson, the alien, not the actress.
What's interesting to me is that I actually think that the trailers and the posters play better once you've seen the movie, which I don't know how good a plan that is.
Point in that?
Well, I think it's potentially a problem. I don't know how well it's doing at the theaters, but the thing with it is, and I agree with, I hadn't thought of the Gravity comparison, but that's so smart, because like how big and grandiose is. The thing they have in common is, to really get absorbed by this movie, I think you want to be in the blackness of a theater, and you want to let the sound sweep over you, because the sound design of this movie is so crucial to the experience of it, especially because like the dialogue of most of the dialogue of the movie is not important. There's like 2 or 3 scenes where the dialogue matters, and other than that,
yeah, this is like you could be a person that doesn't speak English, watch it without subtitles, and you'll understand, because so much of the story is told in like the camera work and like the way people look at each other, and like it's very, very subtle. It's not, and that's why to me it felt so cinematic, because it's like it's actually based on a book. Apparently, it changed quite a few things, but I can't even imagine trying to read this as a book, because like you said, like dialogue isn't important. And you're right, like, it's something that you have to watch. Well, I mean, look, it's going to be a good movie no matter what, but you're not going to get the full
I'm kind of screwed with the theater thing now.
You're going to get, it's a good movie no matter what, like, it's like 2001, it's a good movie no matter what, but you get so much more out of it if you see it in, like, a big, dark theater with, like, a proper huge screen and, like, the proper sound going on. So this is another.
I think even just one of those really dingy little theaters where it's just, as long as it's dark, man. Like, I mean, I think you could watch it at home.
It can make it dark in here.
I think you can watch it at home, but I think it's a movie
I agree with you. I
think in the theater.
Yeah, it just, since that time has passed, I don't want people to feel like they shouldn't see it.
No, that's what I was saying. It's a good movie no matter when or how you see it. I mean, even if, like, for example, Scarlett Johansson's performance, that's going to look good no matter, like, you could see it on a plane and you will know that it's a good performance. It doesn't matter. But
oh my god, imagine watching this on a plane. Oh man, that'd be so weird. I don't know how, what the person next to you would think. I don't know.
Like, my mom watched Black Swan on a plane, and then afterwards she was like, that wasn't that good. And I was like, you saw it on a plane.
On my way back from my trip, the person next to me was watching Nonstop on a plane.
Oh.
And then the stewardess even came by, and he's like, what movie is that? And they're like talking about how it all takes place on a plane.
The person next to me on a train was watching Nonstop on their personal DVD player, but they don't like headphones, so everyone got to listen to it.
I was on a plane once, and you know how, like, they have, like, in the seat back, they have, like, a list of, like, the movies that are available, and one of them, I forget what it was, but it was, like, about a plane crash, and so there was, like, a warning, this is about a plane crash. And I was like, that's necessary. You don't want people to accidentally be thinking about that when they're, like, nervous already in there. Anyway, we're getting off track, but yes, Under the Skin.
For the record, use headphones.
Yeah,
Though my husband thought it was hilarious when you hear, free international flights!
I did love that part.
Yes, so we're getting off track, but I just want to wrap up by saying, Under the Skin, watch it however you can, but if you get to watch it in a theater, then give yourself a high five.
Okay, and it's funny with the plane thing, because part of the reason that I wanted to talk about Lego Movie today is because, so I loved Lego Movie to death when I first saw it. It was so fun, and I hear some people say that the ending is heavy-handed, but for me, that's kind of when it all came together, and it all, I hate using this term, but like I feel like it's so appropriate at times. Like feel all the feels. It's like all the feels from that movie just like hit me, and I'm like, oh, I feel like a child again. I was a big Lego kid, and I just loved how all the pieces fit together. Anyway, back to the plane thing. So I was sitting on the plane coming home. Actually going there too. It was like 2 4 or 5 hour flights in a row, and they played it on both of them. So really I saw the movie 4 times over. But the thing was, I was forcing myself to do work, and I wouldn't let myself watch the movie. But even though I couldn't hear anything and I was supposed to be doing something else, I kept looking up and just staring. It's like, that feeling that, like, that to me signals a good movie, when you could watch it like that and you just don't want to turn away. Yes. And that is how I feel about it. And I really want to sit down in like a proper environment and rewatch that movie again and again. That thing just warmed my heart, and I'm a big Lego kid, and they really, that's how you adapt a game or a toy. You bring out the things that people like know and love and why it became so special. And in that, it just fascinates me how like the clicking noises and the way they manipulate all the pieces, they're so right. My only thing with that movie, which they can fix in the sequel, is the one major piece that was missing for me is, that gray piece that you use to unclip two that are stuck together? They could use that thing. Yeah, the gray thing, it's gray and it's like ridgy on one side and it's got 2 little Lego dots on it.
No, I like if you Legos all the time, but I actually
if you have 2 bricks, like, and they're exactly the same and they stick together, and like if you want to pull them apart, you can't because they're exactly.
Oh my God, there was a thing to do that. I realized how many fingernails was
you hold it, you put it on one, and then you go like this, and it pops right off. Google that piece. That is the greatest piece ever made.
Yeah,
where were you like?
Perri, there is a finite period of time. Don't make people Google gray Lego separator piece.
Where were you 25 years ago when I was like chipping on my fingernails because I couldn't pry like those flat pieces apart ever, like those like flat two. You know what else works?
Oh my!
That's why there are teeth marks.
I'm so excited.
That's why there are teeth marks on some of my old Legos.
Wait. So I just pull yours out now. By the way, if that ever happens to you and you don't have a super cool gray piece, you just take a freaking thumbtack and you dig it in between.
Where was
and
this
it pops right off.
25 years ago?
I told you, I'm really good at Legos.
Oh my God.
Perri just gave everybody a Legos life hack. You're welcome, Internet.
Yes. Anyway, that movie is one of my cinematic happy places. Like the theme song is Everything is Awesome. And
You're doing really good at pull quotes tonight.
Aww. And like you said, like it's amazing that a movie based on Legos sounds so cynical, and it was amazing to me that I was like, oh my God, they made a movie about why Legos are amazing. They made a movie about Legos. Like,
exactly. That was the astonishing thing watching it, because I mean, they really could have done anything with a Lego movie, but the way they did it was so thoughtful, and the message they gave, like, the voice cast was incredible. Like, Chris Pratt is just... He's fantastic. He's so much fun. You just want to hear, like, everybody loves Chris Pratt.
Liam Neeson. My God. I love this movie.
We were talking shit on Nonstop, but he is amazing in Lego Movie.
He's pretty good in Nonstop, for what it's worth, though.
Yeah, just
to throw that out there.
Movie. I mean, Liam Neeson's terrific, but... And then Will Arnett as Batman.
Oh my God. Will Arnett as Lego Batman is my favorite superhero that I've seen this year. And I have seen X-Men, I've seen Spider-Man.
Angie has seen all the superheroes.
I've seen all of them. I'm sick to death of them. I mean, I like them, but I'm also sick to death of them, if that makes any sense. But, like, Lego Batman is my favorite superhero.
I think I'd pick Unikitty. I got such a kick out of that character, and it makes me so sad when they're, like, on the submarine and they're looking out and she sees her whole world and, like, her eye, like, literally. I love also, her eyebrows. Like, it's those triangle pieces that just move. That, like, how freaking clever is that? Like, they're just pieces that spin around, and it completely tells you what a character's feeling. That's incredible. A toy character.
The other thing that was great about the movie is that it was perfectly imperfect. Like, they had these little scenes where, like, you would see the strings holding up characters, or, like, they'd have, like, someone go, like, for the sound effects. And, like
the Morgan Freeman's character was a sucker.
Right.
And, like, dumb that was partially eaten.
These are things that, like, you know, it's like this is a major studio movie that they spent a lot of money on. It's not like they ran out of money and that's why they did it, but it was just like it was imperfect in a way that like reminded you so much of like being a kid and like being the one that was like vroom vroom with like your little Lego toys.
All right. So that is all the time we have today, but hopefully we gave you some movies to seek out and some to avoid. But that's all we've got for this one. So I want you to follow along. We are all over the place. We are on Twitter, Popcorn Prosecco. Obviously, we are on YouTube, Popcorn Prosecco, and popcornprosecco.com. Do keep up with the show there, and also with all three of us all over the internet. Kristy, do you want to take it first?
Yeah, you can find me at Kristy Puchko on Twitter. I'm a freelancer. I write for Cinema Blend. And now on the Mary Sue, I'm recapping Dominion on Sci-Fi, which is based on the movie Legion. So watch it on Thursday nights, and then Friday mornings, check out my recap.
Angie?
You can find me on Twitter at AJHAN, and you can find my writing on slashfilm.com.
And I am on Twitter too, Nemiroff, and you can also find all of my writing linked to my own website, littlemisscritical.com. So that is all the time we have for tonight. Thank you guys so much for watching. Cannot wait to see you next time.
Everything